Welcome one and welcome all to the greatest show of them all. Back after a brief hiatus, coincidentally, not on purpose, but a nice happenstance, returning, I suppose, on the debut day of Survivor Season 50. It is the NFC East Mixtape Volume 184. No, not available in podcast form yet. We fight that fight every day, but available on YouTube, the Bleeding Green Nation YouTube channel for the yucky Eagles fans, as my son likes to say, and Blog of the Boys YouTube channel for Dallas Cowboys fans. He is Brandon Lee Gowton from BGN. I am RJ Ochoa from BTB. Brandonius. I wanted to try that nickname out. What do you think?
No. You said Survivor 50 starts tonight?
Isn't it tonight? Or is it next week?
It's next week.
Oh, damn it. Okay.
As we're recording this on February 18th, it is next week.
Okay.
February 25th.
But then we got ahead of it. We're a week ahead.
Everyone should go watch Survivor 50 who is not a Survivor fan. Just, time to get on board. It's really good. You'll like it. I think it's honestly a good time to get on board. I think people will be intrigued by these players. They might not know who they are, but they will be like, oh, that's really interesting. And then you can go back and watch the original season. So kind of always a good time to get in. But
I kind of got into Survivor like in a heavy sense right before season 40, which was a returning season as well. And so I kind of had that experience. Like I'd kind of done my homework before that, but it was nice to also be like, oh, I need to go watch that season instead. So that was great. Bread Eclipse says, thank you for the little break to ease the sting of that pathetic but relieving into a sad 2025 season for Philly. Bread Eclipse, can you do me a favor and let me know or let us know in the chat? I say me because I'm the one who puts the comments on the screen. If you're watching on mobile, Brandon and I talked about this a few months ago. The platform that we host the show with now allows us to stream 2 different streams to each of the channels that we stream to. So 4 total streams. One is presented horizontally and another is presented vertically. But Brandon, what I'm seeing, I don't know if you see this, the Bread Eclipse comment has a phone emoji. So I don't know if that's to signify. It doesn't show it here. It shows it where I see them. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know if you see that, but I'm assuming that's to signify.
Or can I? I can.
Bread Eclipse says, I'm watching on Mac, but I'm seeing vertical. So you're watching the vertical stream. There are 2 different ones. But so thank you for clarifying. So that is accurate. They're watching that specific stream. So it's good to know.
RJ's up there if you're watching vertical.
Oh, Emmanuel GF,
what the heck?
Who was concerned about me. I don't know what this is about, Brandon.
What a super chat.
Is this a $50 super chat?
It's a $49 super chat.
Okay. Hey,
I'm RJ's so uncomfortable right now.
I watch Survivor with my wife and my dog's on my feet. Sometimes Honey jumps on my lap. But that's kind of where we're at. I mean, it took 184 episodes to get to somewhere like this, but we did get here. So hey.
So addressing the elephant in the room, which people might not actually care about. Sorry, we didn't do an episode right after the Eagles season ended. I said we would do that, but then wouldn't be sure about what we do afterwards. The end of the Eagles season until now has been very chaotic for me for a lot of different reasons. So it was a no-go for sure. Rachel had a medical thing going on that was pretty bad, and she's just good now. Everything's okay. But that was definitely. I'm just not a. It sounds like excuse making. I assure you, it was not an excuse, and I was not trying to duck it. I would have liked to do the mixtape and crush the Eagles for how that season ended, but a lot of things happened, and then you were at the Super Bowl. Just timing hasn't been great. And also, I said we're not gonna. I was not gonna fully commit to just always being there in the off season. So, sorry for the delay, but we're here now. So,
yeah, not to say it was BLG's fault, but BLG had some things going on, so we didn't do it. Obviously, the Cowboys season ended before we had kind of done the post-mortem on that. And then you're right, you had all that going on. My family, we got really sick, kind of our annual cold spell that lasted 2 weeks. And then that kind of took us right up to the Super Bowl. I was gone that whole week. And then last week was kind of just getting back, getting life back together. So this week's been nice to have everything feel really, really normal. So normal that I thought Survivor was coming back today. So what a huge bummer. But we're back and we have a lot to get to. Today, actually, Wednesday, February 18th is, if someone's watching this later or on Thursday, Friday, whatever, Christian, I don't know if you know this, Brandon, this is Christian Parker's introductory press conference. It's later today for us in real time. So that has happened. I suppose we have to go
the Cowboys do that.
I suppose We should go, as we always do, in divisional standing and begin with the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think we have to discuss the game, the loss to the San.
That would be funny if we did.
Shout out to Eric Kendricks for delivering the final blow at the very end.
That's weak, man.
This is my perception. I think this is a good place to start because I think I speak for like football fans, not just Eagles haters. The Eagles seem like a team who were very broken and then finally broke, but really have no interest in putting themselves back together right now. Like they just seem to like we all like have those like couch rot days. Like the Eagles just seem like they're just still on the couch. Like, I don't want to get up. I don't want to change sweatpants today. I don't want to take a shower today. I don't want to brush my teeth. Like they just kind of seem that way when in the past, the Eagles have been like the early risers, getting a workout in at 5 a.m., like making breakfast for the whole group type, person. So that seems to be the presentation to me. Everything still feels just as bad from my vantage point. It's just there are not football games happening anymore. Tell me if I'm wrong, though.
Big picture where I'm at with the Eagles is that I have reservations about the currently constituted era of the Eagles, which is very funny to say a year after they won the Super Bowl, but is true. And I don't necessarily feel great about the current trajectory as it relates to this era of the head coach and quarterback. But because I have seen Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie be able to win the Super Bowl 2 different times with different head coaches and quarterbacks, that doesn't it's not the end of the world for me. Like this era might be doomed, maybe, but if they have to pivot, I'm going to believe that they can pivot. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, they can't possibly get another iteration here that has success. So it's a weird spot because I feel like you usually don't feel like that in fandom because you're like, oh no, this era is gone. And now you don't even know if there's going to be a good thing around the corner. I'm not saying it guarantees that they can just do it again the third time because they've done it the first 2, but it does make me feel like there's a chance they could build it all up. I think Howie Roseman is especially good at building things and not quite as good, though not terrible, at maintaining things. And I don't really think this era is his fault, as it was after they won the Super Bowl the first time. I think he had a really bad stretch after that, and they declined. And Doug Peterson had blame in that too, but I think he got more blame than he deserved. Whereas this time, I think it's actually a lot more of the head coach, obviously, and the quarterback in there as well. And the Eagles lost into the 49ers because they had the issues that burned them all season. Like the league's most expensive offense, and they just couldn't figure it out. And that 49ers defense was bad. It was the worst defense in the playoffs. And the Eagles scored what? I can't even remember, like 19 points or whatever it was against them. It was pathetic, just like their offense was for most of the season. And there's a lot of questions about what this team is going to be moving forward because there's, Lane Johnson, is he going to retire? Landon Dickerson, there's talk that he might retire. Cam Jurgens didn't play well last year. He made the Pro Bowl, but he's been banged up. Is he going to get back to full health? Dallas Goedert's a free agent. AJ Brown could be gone. There's so many different questions. You have a new offensive coordinator who has 2 years of coaching experience. There's a lot of different question marks that you can't just say like, oh, the Eagles are once again the most talented teams in the league, so they're definitely going to be good. There's a lot of questions here.
I would just add to that list. I know there was the Vic Fangio retirement talk, but you seem to be entering at least potentially the final year of Vic Fangio, maybe coaching in the NFL at large, and we'll get to the Cowboys in a bit, but his would-be successor now gone. Potentially.
Real successor is not coaching for anyone.
Okay.
Jim Schwartz. I think they're going to hire Jim Schwartz eventually.
Okay, well, so his one of his potential successors obviously gone. Again, we'll get to Christian Park in a little bit. I mean, everything seems bad. I don't know like what to feel great about if you're an Eagles fan. Brett Eclipse, it's the OC hire, and some of the new position coach hires do seem like they're genuinely shooting for a new offensive identity. Seeing some of the guys that are sticking around has been disappointing, though. You have, even though we haven't done a mixtape in a while, I've seen all your tweets. You have not held back with regards to Nick Sirianni. You're hardly alone in that. You've not held back with regards to Kevin Patullo, his buddy. Where do they go back to? Like, what's their origin of friendship? Like, were they
in Indianapolis?
Okay. So this is Frank Reich's fault, really. That was for Frank Reich. You know what I mean? But I do think if it feels very post the first Eagles Super Bowl, right? Like the the dramatic, cancerous nature that why can't everyone just enjoy this type thing? Except this time around, the Carson Wentz role is being played by the head coach. You know what I'm saying? Like Nick Sirianni is this era's Carson Wentz.
I do. Look, I'm pretty even on Jalen. I like to argue with both the people who criticize him and defend him. I think both of them go way too far, and the truth lies in the middle on him. But I had to start with the head coach. Like, I'm more interested in seeing if I could only pick one. If I could pick Jalen Hurts with a new head coach or a new head coach with a different quarterback, sure. I'd rather see Jalen Hurts with a different head coach first. And obviously, that's the more like just realistic thing and likely thing teams do anyway. Usually, you start with the coach. So yeah, I just think the coach, is crazy as it sounds because they've won so much, has really been supported in a big way by Howie, in a big way by Vic Fangio. And I don't think he has answers, especially when it comes to their offensive issues. And that's really troubling to me as it related to last season. It looks like they're trying to make changes. I applaud them for trying. The effort, I think, is good. I don't think they're just saying – I think it's good that they're not just like, we're going to run it back and everything is fine. Yeah, sure. But that doesn't mean it's definitely going to work out. And to like put so much faith in Sean Mannion, a guy who like we didn't even know. Like, most people did not even know existed other than as like a backup quarterback in the NFL. But as like a coaching prospect, no one was like, oh yeah, Sean Mannion. It doesn't mean he can't be good, but it's just no one knows. Like in a way, like you're just lying. If you're acting like you definitely know what he is going to be. He could be great. Maybe he's the next Sean McVay. I don't know. I'm not saying it can't happen, but like the likelihood of that outcome is obviously not very high.
So on the Sean Mannion note, I haven't cross-referenced this, but I do wonder, especially if AJ Brown is traded, if Brandon Cooks is a potential Eagle in 2026. I don't know if they played together.
Did you see this on social? This was a clip going around social media yesterday.
No, I didn't. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
is it like them talking or sorry, talking about him or something?
No, Fran Duffy does great work for PHLY and draft coverage at large for All City. Actually, I think he is, he's involved with the DLLS show. He pointed this out. He was like, I'm calling my shot. The Eagles are going to sign Brandon Cooks because of the Sean Mannion connection.
Yeah,
and I can see that. They need a guy who has some kind of field stretch ability, even if AJ is back or not. I don't think he will be back. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
It's so weird because I've atoned for my lack of Lane Johnson belief already, and I think everyone agrees he's the most important player on the Eagles roster. I don't know if that argument is that he's the best, but like he's the Jenga piece, right? Like you pull him away and everything just completely changes. It's so strange how we, like the collective, we regard this team to be very good, but I don't know that I would put the head coach, resumes aside, like talking about who they are right now, because he has a Super Bowl, obviously. I don't know that I put the head coach in the top 10 head coaches in the NFL. I don't know that I wouldn't put the quarterback in the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. So like, how are they doing it? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's so like, it does stand to reason that like the bottom's going to come out and it's going to be really bad because those two things are not even top 10. And I think they're pretty like agreed upon, not top 10. It's not like it's not a hot take to say that neither one is top 10. I even if you disagree with that, like you understand the take is my point.
A lot of people ask, they're like, would Nick Sirianni get like respectable people, not just like fans, but also like I would say respected analysts. They're like, would Nick Sirianni get a head coaching job if the Eagles moved on?
Would you trade Nick Sirianni for
yes,
Kevin Stefanski?
Yeah, of course.
Would you trade him for?
I'm going to probably say yes to whatever.
Mike LaFleur.
To most things you're saying, Mike LaFleur. I mean, I don't know. Again, like I don't sight unseen. I don't know.
That's sure, Mike LaFleur is the point of demarcation then, because it's almost like I would not prefer a complete unknown. When you reach the point where you're like, I would literally rather have a complete unknown. Sure. That's when it's truly, truly, truly bad. Would you rather have Jalen Hurts or Jared Goff?
Jalen, for sure.
Jalen Hurts or...
I mean, Goff can't play in cold weather games. It's really bad. Okay, and that is important in the playoffs. Literally, he was the author of the lowest scoring output in Super Bowl history.
Or Trevor Lawrence.
I've never been a huge Trevor Lawrence guy. I'll take Jalen.
Jalen Hurts or Tyler Shuck?
I'll take Jalen.
Okay, last one. Jalen Hurts or Jaden Daniels?
I like Jaden Daniels' upside. I would
Okay.
go with the upside and the fact that he's still the value you're getting because he's still in his rookie contract.
Brett Eclipse.
But that's also like I would have to know his medical situation more.
Right.
Too.
This really hits or encapsulates the whole point from Brett Eclipse that the argument for Hurts being top 10 is fair, right? Like, and again, especially if you include resume, but like the argument against him is really fair too. Like that's so to your point, it makes like the like the place, the home is the middle. He's not top 5. He's not bottom 5. You know what I mean? Like,
but I just don't think he's the place you need to start. Is my argument. Like when it comes to what's wrong with the team, I would not start there. You might eventually get there. I'm not going to say that isn't going to be true, but that's not your starting point. And I think the head coach is more of the starting point for me.
You mentioned Sean Mannion. Anything about him? We have a lot to get to, so I don't want to just like dwell on this for forever. Like, are you excited or are you just indifferent or?
I'm not. I'm open mind. So where they were in their offensive coordinator search, because it was kind of well documented that they didn't necessarily get who they wanted, and it took a long time. And that doesn't mean it can't work out. They've had coaching hires go the same way, and it's worked out for them in terms of Doug Peterson, Nick Sirianni, and what they were able to do. But like we just don't know. He has literally 2 years of coaching experience. 1 year was as an assistant. Last year was as a position coach. He took over for Tom Clements, who was, like legendary Packers quarterbacks coach. The fact that he was his successor, it's kind of interesting. The fact that Mannion had worked with a lot of different offensive minds, including as a coach briefly with Matt LaFleur, but also as a player with, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay kind of connections. Like there's intrigue. I get like there's some level of intrigue, but like, we just don't know. He's never called plays. That was a big issue for the Eagles last year, at least by their own admission. They fired Kevin Patullo, seemingly in part because he didn't do well as a first-time play caller, but we didn't know how he was going to do because he was a first-time play caller, and we also don't know how Sean Mannion's going to do. So I'm going into it with an open mind, and where they were again in the search, I was willing to take a big swing as opposed to say let's hire Matt Nagy. Like that didn't do a lot for me. Like Matt Nagy has a track record to me of not being that great. Maybe there's. I phrased it like this. The 2024-2025 Eagles could have used Matt Nagy because I think they just needed some level of competency on offense with how the roster was built last year. But the 2026 Eagles, I don't think are going to be as talented and probably need to shoot for more upside. So I'm willing to shoot for upside, but like upside is not guaranteed. Like when you take like a high level prospect or a high upside prospect, I think everyone is so enticed with the upside that you're like, oh, it's a great move. I mean, it could be if he reaches that, but there's also a very low downside here where it all goes very poorly, and that's just, I think, is equally likely.
I'm going to change this question a bit from Brett Eclipse. Who is
nice of you?
Who is next in line of succession behind Nick Sirianni? If Nick Sirianni were to be fired mid-season, who's next in the chain who's the vice president of the Eagles, so to speak?
Well, doesn't it feel like he's almost in a no-win position from like
Sirianni?
If things go poorly, yeah, he's going to get fired, right? Probably, I think so. The fact that he wasn't fired already is actually against precedent in terms of just how bad the offense was last year. Like the only 2 worst offenses of the Eagles last like 25 years, going back to 2000. The coaches got fired in those years. Like those were like, Jeffrey Lurie does not tolerate bad offenses or underperforming offenses. So the fact that he's already back, and obviously they probably weren't going to move on a year after you moved the Super Bowl, that went against precedent just by that. So I don't think he's surviving another year like that. So that's the downside. The upside is like, they do really well. Sean Mannion could get hired away, just like Kellen Moore did, just like Shane
Steichen
too. But Shane Steichen is who I meant to say. I don't think they're going to fire or move on from Sirianni if they do well.
But who's that guy? Who's that name?
Who would?
If Sirianni were fired week 10, who's the person who would be? That's my question.
I mean, I don't think I honestly don't know.
I think it has to be Fangio. You know what I mean? Like he's just.
I don't know if they want to do that. I don't know if he wants to do that. Honestly, especially if this is last year, he might be like, no, like I'm riding this out. They have an associate or assistant head coach in Jamal Singleton, the running backs coach. Maybe they would just bump him up. It used to be Kevin Patullo. That used to be like there was a game in 2020 that Nick Sirianni was going to miss potentially because he had COVID, and Kevin Patullo was going to be the head coach for that game if he had to miss it, if he wasn't cleared to return to the team in time. But now obviously he's gone. So, but going back to what I was kind of posing, like in the scenario where they do succeed, it's like, okay, Mannion's great. You're just going to let him walk out the door and then start this all over again, look for another offensive coordinator? Probably, but that's just kind of like And it's a good problem to have. If he's getting hired as a head coach, you probably had a really good season. But I think it just speaks to the fact that, like, can't we just see now that Nick is probably not like the answer to a lot of these solutions? And obviously they disagree, but that's how I feel.
So to segue, I'd say the Cowboys, not that Brian Schottenheimer is going to get fired. That's just not how the Cowboys work. But if that were to ever happen, hypothetically, I think the answer is Clayton Adams. He'd be that person. The same Clayton Adams who the Eagles tried to poach and were denied and were blocked from doing so. So that made a lot of us very happy. This same argument that you're offering, there were people who were bigger fans of Jim Leonard, the Broncos passing game coordinator. The Cowboys, just to refresh people's timeline, they pounced on Christian Parker the week of the conference championship games. So Jim Leonard was unavailable to formally be chosen, formally be hired. And I was fine with them waiting, but I also respected and was impressed that they operated with some conviction. I mean, they said, this is who we want. We're prepared to make our move right now. But there was a school of thought from some people that said, well, what if Christian Parker gets hired away next year? Cool. Like, I would love that. Like, I would love that problem. I really would. That would mean nothing but good things. So we will deal with that when we get there, hypothetically. Christian Parker is the reason for so much optimism for the Cowboys. He's the youngest defensive coordinator they've ever hired in franchise history. The process behind how they arrived at him was very different in that they didn't just like go with someone who's already in the HR system. They went to a tree in the NFL from a defensive standpoint that is currently having a lot of success and plucked a direct branch. He's a minority. I mean, they've never really done that. I mean, and so it was very, very impressive. And like the way I said this, and it's been a while now, obviously, but this could fail, right? Like they could be worse than last year, and you will not find me speaking ill about it because I can accept that you lose, right? Like I can accept that you don't win the Super Bowl. It's a very, very, very difficult thing to do. But what is frustrating is when you don't try. What is frustrating is when you intentionally sabotage yourself. This is not that. This is trying. This is working very hard. This is turning over every stone, looking under every rock. And I think that's the disposition for most Cowboys fans. There has not really been a ton of drama with regards to the George Pickens situation. They have not formally, officially, like brass tacks, franchise tagged him yet. It does seem like that's the case, or that's going to be the case at the very least as a placeholder. We'll see, obviously, what the Cowboys say. I'm sure they'll be asked about it in this press conference they're going to have today, and then obviously once again at the NFL Combine next week. But I'd say things feel good right now, and not good like it's our year, we them boys, but like it's nice to see them acting like adults. And they acted like petulant children for a very long time. That was completely and totally a level of decision making that they were responsible for. But it is just it's nice. It's nice to see them behaving like adults.
On the point of continuity, it's just like a myth in today's NFL. When it comes to coordinators, it just does not happen. Like people are always like, I've always said this is a tired talking point for me when it comes to Jalen Hurts. It's like, oh, it's a different offensive coordinator every year. Like, guess what? Like the OC stability does not happen. The longest tenured offensive coordinator in the NFL in terms of like someone who calls plays. So it doesn't count. I'm not counting, if it's the head coach because that's different, Yeah. But just in terms of the a coordinator is 2025 last year. That's the longest tenured offensive coordinator who calls plays in the NFL. Think about that. And I was looking back here at defense just for curiosity as it related to what you said about Christian Parker. It's Spags in 2019. Okay. And then it's also Todd Bowles, but I'm not counting him because he's a head coach. But everyone else.
Well, and then you have like other examples like Eric Bieniemy or Matt Nagy, like people who have returned to teams, or you know what I mean, and had multiple stints. Like that's not quite the same thing, but it's it's worth explaining context around.
My point is like no one's just like hanging on to coordinators anymore. It's not
right.
Happening. So get that out of your mind. That shouldn't be a top reason to hire someone. Like it's just it's a very silly thing. Like in a perfect world, ideally, yes, I understand the sentiment, but it's not realistic.
Of course you would have the same coordinators for forever. You would be you'd be Bill Belichick, Charlie Weiss, and Romeo Crennel. You know what I mean? Like in a perfect world, but like that's just not, those aren't modern times. The Christian Parker thing has suggested or has intimated, has implied that the Cowboys may pursue Reed Blankenship in free agency. They certainly have indeed at safety. I know he was asked about that during his media appearances while at the Super Bowl. I'm very interested to see what they do. And they have spoken like, acted like, and these are words that are falling on deaf ears, to be very clear. But like they will be more active as opposed to their normal routine in the early portions of free agency to give themselves a chance. They obviously have the multiple first round picks, but they don't have any day 2 picks. I would, every mock I do, I tend to trade down at least from one of them to pick up more capital. But I'd say most people feel satisfied. I mean, right now there was some silly Super Bowl drama. Micah Parsons back podcasting, by the way. I thought he'd sworn off of it, but it was revealed by CeeDee Lamb on Kay Adams' show and then addressed by Micah and Jordan Love that Micah had been recruiting George Pickens to Green Bay. Good luck with that, Micah. But that's the story right now is the George Pickens situation and how that's ultimately going to go.
I think the Cowboys are in a good spot relative to the NFC East. Like, I think, the Eagles are kind of on the down right now, and therefore the Cowboys, assuming you can see the formula for the Cowboys rising to the top team in the NFC East in 2026, because you figure the offense is still going to be probably pretty good. Although on the Clayton Adams point, I think it's smart that the Eagles tried to block him or tried to interview him, because at least it forces the Cowboys staff to block him. And now Clayton Adams knows that the Cowboys blocked him, and maybe he doesn't care about that, but maybe he does. It doesn't hurt to ask and at least try to get that to happen. Anyway, yeah. So I think the offense is still going to be probably a good offense, even if we'll see what happens with George Pickens. I still think it's going to be, like not a bad offense. And then the defense has to be better. It just has to be. Like, it might not be great, but it's probably not going to be as bad.
I would say a fairer way to put that is it would be very difficult to be worse. You know what I mean? It would be very, very, very difficult. Understanding that the George Pickens things exist, there is no, like the latest the George Pickens thing can be a problem, so to speak, is until July 15th. He's because he's not up for a contract extension the way Micah was, the way CD was, the way Dak was. So like my latest annoyance is when people be like, oh, they're going to drag this out through training camp the way they always do. They can't. They literally can't. Like if they do drag it out, the latest point they can drag it through is July 15th. And then at that point, he's either on the tag or has a long-term deal. I do think they want to get a long-term deal. Again, the path of how we got here, I really don't care to relitigate. I obviously have a lot of issues with it, but they have effectively painted themselves into a position, I don't want to call it a corner, but where 2026, as we've discussed, and 2027 are their years. This is their time to do something. And so that suggests to me that they're going to keep George Pickens. And I think that Dak and CD are going to be vocal about that. If they let Javonte Williams go, okay. I mean, that won't break my heart. They've earned benefit of the doubt at running back in my mind. You want to go sign this year's version of Javonte Williams?
I was just going to say, Javonte Williams having the season he just did is every reason to not sign Javonte Williams.
I completely agree. That was why, I mean, when a decade ago, when Darren McFadden did what he did, it was proof to draft Jalen Ramsey. You know what I mean? Not Zeke Elliott. So, yeah, good luck, Javonte. Hope you get paid. Why don't you net us a comp pick? But I don't need if he wants to return to the Cowboys and they can work something out that's fair and practical and not crazy, by all means. But yeah, so that's where the Cowboys are at. Are we ready to move on to the Washington Commanders, where everything also just feels bad? Like there's nothing really great happening there, it seems.
Well, I didn't really comment on Christian Parker directly. I think that's a good hire by the Cowboys from my perspective, everything I know about him. Players really like him. Eagles players seemed like a bright mind. I think generally got the most out of his players. So I think it's good coaching all about. Some people will be like, oh, Keely Ringo wasn't good. I don't think that's Christian Parker's fault.
Yeah,
I think it's possible.
But Patrick Surtain was awesome. And Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, right? Like there are a lot of great examples.
And then, some of that could be, well, maybe they're just good players. But it can be hard to parse through. But I think Christian Parker, by all accounts, is definitely a bright mind. And we've seen Fangio disciples not exactly have the same kind of success as Vic Fangio is the real thing, but in part because Vic Fangio talks about how he is very proprietary with his information, which I didn't really know about that until he was here. It's funny. He literally said that. He said he has his own analytics that he shares with no one, which I thought was just like very funny. So I don't think he's in the role of like grooming his coaches like some other coaches might be. It just kind of explains why his assistants may not have done so well on their own. But still, it is a worthwhile hire. So yeah, all the best in theory to Christian Parker, not in actuality because now he's a Cowboy. But he was a great member of the Eagles, is how I'll phrase it.
I'm very excited. Only Brandon will kind of understand this for the press conference because there will be photos taken. Right now, we have like 6 photos to choose from whenever we write anything about him.
That's also Sean Manion.
Like, yeah.
At least
I could
like Christian Parker's been around for a couple years.
Yeah.
Is kind of like more of a high profile, at least as position coaches go. Like Sean Manion's like a no one, as an assistant, and like there's 4 photos of him. And the Eagles are dumb and won't have a press conference with him until like May. So stupid.
Like what even is there about Washington that has happened? Like,
they have a new defensive coordinator. Well, they have 2 new coordinators.
Right.
It's kind of weird that Cliff just basically decided to leave, right? Like or at least there was some tension there. It seemed like, based on the reporting that was out there, it seemed like Cliff and Adam Peters weren't exactly on the same page there. I thought Cliff did a really good. I actually think you could make the case he did a better job this past season than he did in 2024. Obviously, the team had much more success in 2024. But you look where the Commanders ranked in like DVOA and offensive metrics last year. They're like above average. They're good, and that's despite the fact that Jaden Daniels missed a lot of time, and they even were down to Josh Johnson at one point. Like, I think they actually did a good job of kind of doing more with less on offense. So I think losing Cliff like isn't ideal for them. And you bring in they promote rather David Blau, and he's a total unknown, and also kind of weird because he was lower down the coaching staff. He wasn't like in a position where he was necessarily next in line to take over, but they're just kind of taking a big swing on him. I think they're almost like afraid, even though it's different ownership, different people entirely, of what happened back in the day when they had like Sean McVay on staff, and they had a lot like Shanahan, like a lot of these assistants that are now the real thing in the NFL. I think they're almost like trying to guard against that and being like, well, what if he's the next great thing? I don't know about that. I don't know about that one. They got Durante Jones from the Vikings, who worked under Brian Flores. Seems like a decent hire.
He was a name that we had our eyes on, like as a possibility. Everybody wanted Brian Flores, and obviously it didn't work out. But then the Christian Parker stuff kind of took off. But I think that was smart. But I mean, it's also Dan Quinn's defense, right? Like it's easy as a Cowboys fan to get excited about Christian Parker because like Brian Schottenheimer isn't a defensive guy, right? Like so it's more difficult to get excited about Clayton Adams a year ago because it's going to be Brian Schottenheimer's offense. So I think similarly, like, cool, you have this bright defensive mind, but like it's Dan Quinn's show. Like nothing is really changing except for the person who reports to him.
I also think the personnel was the bigger issue to me than the coaching. Like I think I said that before the season. I think they really made a lot of bad personnel moves. Even they seem to be coming around to this on Hogs Haven. They have like an article about how Adam Peters' draft record has not been good thus far. And yeah, it's a big offseason for the Commanders. I think there's a real chance for them to learn lessons from last year and get it right. I think that's possible. The problem is some of the damage was done last year in terms of they only have so many draft picks. I think the Eagles have something like 7 or 8 picks before the Commanders make their 3rd pick. Like it's kind of crazy, the fact that that's the case. But yeah, I think the Commanders are in a spot where they can kind of take their medicine a bit, learn from last year, and rebound a little. But had they actually handled last offseason right, they would have been in a much better position.
I still take no real issue with them trying last year, but I do think that their NFC Championship game berth was, I want to say mirage. They earned it, but it was built on an incredible rookie season by the quarterback, the most important player on the team, and a different infusion of talent. And like we don't often do this with regards to success or failures in the postseason. Like I typically come at this from the Cowboys slant. Like we only say like, oh, they suck in the playoffs, which is true. But like, we don't say like, well, they got rocked by Kyle Shanahan's Niners, like a team we like objectively respect, right? Like they got rocked by Aaron Rodgers, a quarterback who we know is incredibly lethal. And so my point is like Washington, their playoff wins in 2024 before they lost to the Eagles in the title game, they beat the Buccaneers, which, okay, cool. A road playoff win is not an easy thing, and like you won't find me crapping on a road playoff win in Tampa.
Yeah, it was a good win.
But then you got lucky in that Detroit just was like too small for the moment. You know what I mean? Like, so like we don't factor that in. We just, and look, it was a win. I'm not trying to take away from it, but like it's a similar thing to where like I always argue like why do we regard the Niners so well or the Eagles or the Packers if they're beating the Cowboys? Like if we think the Cowboys suck, you can't be like, well, these teams are awesome because they're beating them. It's like we've learned a little bit more about the Lions, and I don't hate the Lions or think they suck or anything, but my point is like that context matters. Is my point. So like it was a little bit of a mirage. They tried to, they tried to keep the party going and they failed. And now they have to do things a little bit differently.
Yeah, they clearly thought they were way closer than they were. Is inarguable.
Yeah, it was a false reality. So a false front, as they would say in golf. Are we ready to move on to the Giants? It's probably where the most change is, obviously.
I would say probably the most interesting team, right, in the division in terms of just the news and what maybe could be ahead for them.
This is a bummer. Like I think this was our least preferred outcome of all. Who was even like the next dude in line to be the? I mean, like if we consider if it had been Robert Saleh, that would have been awesome. You know what I mean? If it had been, I don't know. I would. I said that Mike McCarthy would have elevated. By the way, I think you'll appreciate this. I'm so excited that Mike McCarthy is the head coach of another team to be able to learn something, to be able to track something. You know what I mean? To be able to compare it to what the Cowboys did, at the very least, from a content standpoint. But
isn't it a bad situation in that, like, if he's the guy where the Steelers finally have a losing season? Ooh, that's a tough look.
I don't hate the Steelers. There's some Cowboys fans that do from the 70s, but I love myself. So like I'm kind of rooting for them to be awesome so that I can be a little bit vindicated. You know what I mean? Because I've defended him so much, but that's a different subject. Jim Harbaugh did not get Todd Monken. That was the lone. John Harbaugh, but did not get Todd Monken. That was the lone. That would have made it like an A+ instead of an A. But this is a big deal, and he did, and this is the biggest. I think if you're a Giants fan, get the Maras to allow him to be the boss and not have to report to Joe Schoen.
Yes. I mean, it's so weird that Shane is there. Like, I don't love that.
It's super awkward. Like, it's so sad.
What was the point of keeping it? Why did you we have to keep Joe Schoen? No, you don't. You could just wipe the slate clean here. Like, it's weird that he's here. Maybe it'll work out, but like, why? Why even tempt fate that something weird could happen here? It's a weird one, but I think they've added a lot more stability. It doesn't mean they'll get it right because look, I think there's a real question, like if Harbaugh, still like has it from a sense of like, is he definitely one of the best coaches? And can he definitely get them over the hump? We don't know. I think they could have made much worse hires.
It's similar to Christian Parker in that you're doing something different, right? Like you're taking things different. Yeah, you're taking things more seriously. I understand this point from Michael, who why do we think he can be better? Like, I think I saw this Giants TikTok account I like. This girl, I don't know her name, but she does a great job. She's really like funny in covering the Giants. And she was kind of mocking a take like this. And she was like, I really don't care. She was like, I'm just focused on the Giants reaching the playoffs. Like she was like, that would be such a success right now. And I say that all the time with the Cowboys. Like we can point and laugh and be like, haha, that's so sad. The standard used to be whatever, blah, blah. It's like, dude, like they suck. Like they have been so bad for so long.
Literally one of the very worst teams in the NFL.
So and that was my whole pitch with Mike McCarthy. And I think that they're similar in that respect. Like if John Harbaugh leaves after 5 years and they haven't even reached a title game, whatever, fine. But if they've won double-digit games 3 times, if they've been to the playoffs multiple times, like, dude, he helped make them legitimate again. Like that's the goal, I think.
Yeah. I like think about the Raiders. I think the Raiders would love to make the playoffs a couple times, right? Even if it's win one playoff game and you're definitely out the next round. I think they would.
Look at the Bills. The Bills are that team. Like that, not the same history, but like they went from never making the playoffs to now, their standards have rightfully been raised after a long time. But like, remember the first time they made it with that crazy Andy Dalton, play against John Harbaugh, amazingly. But like to them, it was like the biggest miracle ever just to make the playoffs.
For sure. So I believe in that. I think the quarterback is much more of a question mark than people seem to make it to be. And again, I've said I like Jackson Dart's upside. I think I like his ceiling. But I think that floor is very low, and I just don't know if he's going to stay healthy. It's intriguing. I think the Giants are going to be better for sure. They don't deserve the benefit of the doubt when it comes to being a contender like that. They have to very much go out there and earn that. But I do think they're pointed in the right direction. I'll fully buy into it when I see it for sure. But I think they're pointing in the right direction. Now, I will say, you and I thought that same thing when they hired Joe Shane and Brian Dable. We said that back at the time. We're like, oh no, they might be back on a path the right way, and that we see how that turned out. I think this setup probably gives them a better chance at success than that one did. Saying that with the benefit of hindsight now, of course. Interested to see what the Giants look like this year.
Michael says Harbaugh to the Giants gives me Big Rivera to Washington vibes. I think that's really unfair to John Harbaugh's career.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, like I get where you're coming from, but like a much more of like 10 times more accomplished coach. Like one of Ron Rivera's playoff appearances in Carolina came as a below 500 team, which he literally replicated with Washington. So I mean, it's not to say like John Harbaugh is going to replicate his Baltimore run, but like there is reason to trust is my point. Like reason to believe in what he has done, what he has built. And I also think if you're going to do that, they're doing it the right way. They're giving him full autonomy. Let it be the John Harbaugh show. And I also think like this doesn't translate to on the field. And I know what this sounds like coming from a Cowboys perspective. There is some value to having juice again. Like the Giants have been this like moribund, pathetic, like loser franchise that everyone just like points at and laughs at. And now they're like, I mean, they are like when they're good, and this was more like when we were kind of like in high school-ish ages, like when they're really good, when they won those 2 Super Bowls, it's really annoying. It's really annoying because they're a New York team, the New York market, whatever. And like they have that like juice again, driving and powering the machine. And so I wish it had been another coach. I'm bummed that it was John Harbaugh.
The way we phrased it often is like, what have they had to hang their hats on for a long time now? Like, what do you? I mean, OBJ, I guess, kind of going back to that.
Neighbors might be very good. That's it. Cam Scatterboo is awesome and fun. Jameis Winston caught a touchdown. You know what I mean? Like those are the things. Like Joe Judge beat the Eagles twice. I mean, and that's the other thing. Like John Harbaugh might fail, but like, dude, like if your coaches had been, I'm trying to think of I heard it on a podcast, all the post Coughlin, even Coughlin was like not super. I don't think either of us were ever like afraid of Coughlin, but
no, there was talk about him getting fired in each of those years they won the Super Bowl, like going into the playoffs.
The post Coughlin coaches were Ben McAdoo,
Pat Shurmur.
I was going to say Pat Surtain. I knew it wasn't, but I was like working it out in my mind. Pat Shurmur, Joe Judge, Brian Dable, like all losers. I mean, just like perennial losers. They've beaten Dak Prescott, who's the longest tenured starting quarterback in the NFL with regards to his team, 3 times. And 2 were his rookie year. And the most recent one was week 18 in a meaningless game for both teams. Like just to contextualize how long they've been losers. So, and that doesn't even go all the way back to like their most recent Super Bowl win. That was 5 years after. So this sucks, but whatever.
I think it's going to be impossible for Giants and the Giants fans to say, like, we regret hiring Harbaugh.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It might not work out, but like, it's like, well, that was the right call. It just didn't work out. And if it doesn't work out, then like, I don't think anything is saving the Giants because
so like everything you just said is exactly how I feel about the Cowboys in the Mike McCarthy era. It did not work out, but I fully, especially when you look at who their options were in 2020 when they hired him, like he theoretically made them better. They ruined what progress he made. And I don't mean to make this about him, but like that would be the effect of John Harbaugh. It may not work out. They may not win the Super Bowl, whatever, but like they will be more respectable when he's done with them. I don't even think that was the case with Ron Rivera. They were more respectable just because the owner was less involved. And that's a unique situation. They weren't more respectable on the football field. Are we done?
All right.
Anything else? What else are we missing?
I've been watching A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, liking that.
You ready to do songs?
Yeah, I'm going to go first. I'm picking Absolutely by 9 Days. You will know this song as This Is the Story of a Girl. That song.
Cried a river and drowned the whole world.
Yeah, I heard that song recently, and it was just stuck in my head for the next like 5 days. So welcome everyone else to being reminded of that.
It's titled Absolutely parentheses Story.
Yeah, but I didn't want to give it away right away.
I see what you're saying. This song makes me think of like Lizzie McGuire, like that type of time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I feel like there were so many songs. I mean, maybe this is still true, but I feel like true to my experience, there's so many songs like this in like that 90s aughts range of so many one-hit wonders. Like it's like these bands with these like all like that's like an all-time kind of song. Like anyone hears that song, they know that song. But like I bet you so many people did not. I didn't know who the artist was because they just have like that one song that is hits so hard. I think it's just part of how like music was listened to on the radio. Like there was just like a lot of and just how music was consumed back then. Anyway.
I mean, I agree. I also think it's one of those songs that like everyone knows the like melodic tune, but like I know the words. This is the story of a girl who cried a river and drowned the whole world, and while she looked so sad in photographs, I absolutely loved her when she smiled. I don't know anything else. Like I don't know any other words besides that.
You don't need to.
Yeah, like this is one of those. There's like I know there were only like 12 songs on the soundtrack, but there are like 400 songs that were effectively in the American Pie soundtracks. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like this is that kind of song. This is the way I would like to put it. I've been ready to put this song on the playlist for a while. We just haven't had an episode. I really like it. It's a bop. It's going to be all over the place for the next year. I don't know that it has song of the summer vibes, but it's just I heard it not to like humble brag, but like at a Super Bowl party, and I knew before I went, I was like, this is the exact kind of song that I'm going to hear at a Super Bowl party, and it is "I Just Might" by Bruno Mars. I love that song.
Cool.
On the subject, Brett Eclipse wants to know what we thought of the the Super Bowl halftime show.
The
Hooper Bowl, very different event.
The halftime show, I thought it was great. Some Bad Bunny.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you. I speak Spanish fairly fluently, but it's like understanding Spanish music is a very different challenge. And I don't listen to Bad Bunny on the reg, but so while I didn't understand anything, and I was there as noted, so it was actually an impeded experience in person.
I think I didn't see I guess I didn't read a lot of like articles about the performance, but in my mind as I was watching it, I was like, oh, this feels like more than ever a Super Bowl halftime show for the viewers and not the in audience, which I was thinking about that because there were a lot of close shots. Usually you see the wide shots.
Exactly. And I would say the Kendrick performance the year before was a little bit similar.
I think that was more mixed. I think I had a mix of that.
Right. But like what I was fixated on during Kendrick was there was this like dude on like a hoverboard who was like following him the entire time. So I was like, oh, that probably looks awesome on TV. And the Bad Bunny thing. So I know this has been discussed a million times, but they created like a maze, like a corn maze.
Yep.
And there were people who played the bushes. And so the letdown, I suppose, in person was that like the collective stadium thought that like in the final number, the bushes were going to dance. So I was like, that would have been cool. Like I was just kind of like waiting for that. So like at the end, it was like, oh, they just stood there. Like that. Yeah, that was
I agree.
Just an uncomfortable like thought to weigh. But
it seems like it was logistically done so that they didn't have to like carry stuff.
Right, exactly. But it was funny to watch them like all running in and getting set. But like again, it looked like the type of thing where they were all like just going like, and so I was waiting for that. But the energy, the vibe, it was all sorts of fun. The like little bit of gasolina, like that part, I audibly was like, oh, like because I thought they were gonna.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna do more of it.
But then when I watched it on TV, the TV copy, it was even cooler, obviously.
Yeah.
So very cool. I guess thoughts on the Super Bowl overall.
Seahawks deserved to win. They were like the number one team in like DVOA, point differential. They lost, was it 3 games by a combined score of 9 points this season? Like they were the best team. John Schneider, I think, did a really good job. I think Mike McDonald is awesome. I think he's a really good coach. And you see that too with just like how the Ravens probably miss him a lot since he is left there.
Why aren't we making him out to be Sean McVay? Like, and the Ravens are his Washington. You know what I'm saying?
People should. I think he's really good. I liked the hire last year. I have a soft spot for the Seahawks is too much, especially because they've owned the Eagles.
We are simpatico on this. We've talked about this a lot. I think it's what fueled our initial Russell Wilson love. I think we've both realized that we just kind of like the Seahawks. You know what I mean? Like
they just feel like not threatening for a certain in terms of like culturally. So far, it's not like it's not like a Boston team. I'm not gonna or a New York team. Like I'm not gonna let even if not. No, it's not even just saying the Giants, but like
they're
the
up
Jets
in their
too.
corner of the country. You know what I mean? Like their colors are cool, their uniforms are cool, the stadium's cool, the crowd is cool.
I think the fans like genuinely like the team. They're not just like bandwagon fans or anything. I also used to play with. I I played as the Seahawks in franchise mode a lot on which is Madden. It's the Madden where Sean Alexander is on it. Is that 05 or
No,
04, 07? One of those.
we gotta know.
I remember playing franchise mode a lot for some reason with the Seahawks.
07, Madden 07.
Yeah, okay, 7. A great playlist of that Madden has a great.
I want to bring up a Madden playlist thing in a second, but I agree with you wholeheartedly on the Seahawks front. I also am happy they won. I wasn't like, oh, boo Patriots as much as a lot of people were, but it would have not been as cool or interesting. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy for Sam Darnold. Like, it's just a cool story. I'm also very happy for DeMarcus Lawrence. Like, and
a Seahawks legend. That's right.
There are a lot of people who have, Jason Kelsey among them, who have said, oh, well, he called his shot, whatever. And I agree with this, to be clear, but
he did.
The context that I would like to apply is the way we know the Cowboys to handle contract negotiations right now with how dumb they are. DeMarcus Lawrence was the Trojan horse. He was the person who exploited that. At the end of his rookie contract, he wanted to get paid. They wouldn't do it. This was the very beginning. This was soon-ish into the collective bargaining agreement, obviously with rookie caps and things like that. And he said no. He said I deserve to be paid, and they placed the franchise tag on him, and he balled out in his 2015 season and forced them to pay him. And it wasn't Dak, it wasn't CD, it wasn't Micah. DeMarcus Lawrence was the first person who really pushed them in that regard. And so my point is, like, he's been calling his shot ever since then. Like, he has been very unafraid to be DeMarcus Lawrence, and I really respect that. And I don't know that he also, like, have an objection with, like, did he call his shot? Like, his shot was actually that he would not win the Super Bowl with the Cowboys. His shot wasn't, we will win the Super Bowl this year in Seattle. But I mean, it's one of those things where, like, they did it, and so, like, he will be right for forever. And I'm very happy for him. I wanted to ask him a question after the game, but he didn't do a media appearance. So whatever.
Do you think DeMarcus Lawrence is a bigger Broncos legend, or Seahawks legend, or DeMarcus Ware is a bigger Broncos legend?
I think that the lore behind DeMarcus Lawrence will be larger because like DeMarcus Ware is a Hall of Famer, and he's one of the greatest Cowboys of all time. Like DeMarcus Lawrence was very, very, very good, and I have fought the good fight for him, but he wasn't as good as DeMarcus.
And he's also probably going to be in Seattle longer than Ware was in Denver, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and he has the moment. Like DeMarcus Ware was actually cut by the Cowboys. DeMarcus Lawrence, just his contract ended and they didn't bring him back. Like, so not apples to apples, but I do think that like if you're a Seahawks fan right now, you would die for DeMarcus Lawrence because he said what he did. You know what I mean? And like, Ware didn't really have that. Plus the hero of Ware's Super Bowl with Denver, which the poetry behind both of these DeMarcuses winning the Super Bowls so quickly with their new teams, both in San Francisco, is amazing to me. But it was Von Miller. Von was the like hero of Super Bowl 50. So it just, I think to answer your question, I think it's Lawrence. My Madden thing was before the game. So by the way, Charlie Puth, holy crap. Like what a voice this guy's got. Like the national anthem was amazing, but even before that, they had Green Day out there. After they had that fraud, Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl MVP's photo with all the other people.
Why is he literally won that award?
I know. But they had Green Day performing. And then they had the MVPs like Hurts and Brady and whoever it was, like on the stage, just like waving to the crowd and stuff. But Green Day sang a variety of songs, including American Idiot. They were all from that album. And I like vividly remember playing Madden with that album as the soundtrack. And so it was the Super Bowl is a very humbling thing for me. And I'm very fortunate that our bosses have sent me to 2 now. And I went to another. And every time there's just this immense gratitude I have. So it was this moment of like self-reflection, like, man, I used to play Madden with this band playing in the background on the soundtrack, and I'm here at the Super Bowl and they're playing. I mean, it was just a really cool moment for me. So
cool. I'm glad you got to experience it.
Oh, can I tell you one last Madden thing? Sure. And then it's kind of been a weird episode. So you mentioned franchise mode, and I've mentioned before that I do a franchise every year with my cousin Jeremy. We have different rules and how we go about it. I've been the Bears a lot, and I'm the Bears this year, but we always create ourselves. So like, and we're 99 overall because, so I'm the 99 overall quarterback of the Bears. And I interviewed Colston Loveland while we were at the Super Bowl. You can watch these interviews on the SB Nation NFL YouTube channel. And so I explained this to Colston, and he was like, and I was telling him, I was like, I'm throwing it to everybody, right? Like, and he said, I was going to say, like, are you throwing me the ball? And I said, yeah. I said, so, and I've never had a chance to do this with a player. I said, we have to create a touchdown celebration, like you and me right now for when I throw you touchdowns. And he was promoting Charmin. They had this, like the biggest toilet paper roll I've ever seen in my life. And we landed on our celebration is the TP. So like when I throw him a touchdown, he's going to come TP me like they did what's his name's house in Philadelphia. Or that was eggs they threw, right? Not TP. Yeah. Okay, so not like that. But yeah, so that was cool. Shout out to Madden.
I liked your interview with Scott Hansen.
He was cool.
He didn't like understand what was happening. He wasn't like listening. And I'm no disrespect. I think he's great. But it was just very funny where he was like playing a guessing game with you, and he's like, "Wow, how am I going to get this with no clues?" And you're like, "Oh, wait, I'm like going to give you the clues." He ended up getting it after you gave him a couple clues. It was good. It was very funny to me. He wasn't totally listening at first.
I kept that part in the clip because I thought it was funny. But yeah, I was funny. I was like, we're gonna play this game, and then he started playing, and I was like, whoa.
It's funny because he was so eager. He just like gets into it. He's like, well, wait, the game hasn't started yet.
Yeah. So, and then he was like, he was playing in 5, which is our staple game at SB Nation. You can play it at Bleeding Green Nation or Blogging the Boys. But he was like, how many people get it in 2 tries? And I was like, well, I mean, they're available every single day, like at all of our sites like this. This happens.
Good though. 2 is a good number.
That's true. That's Jalen Hurts' original number before he wanted to copy someone else, like he did when he copied Dak by moving to Jordan Brand. So
nice.
Anything else before we leave?
Maybe Dak should try copying Jalen Hurts and win a Super Bowl MVP. The Super Bowl. That could be cool for you. Not for me. No. Offseason rolls on. AJ Brown trade rumors, hot and heavy. We're about a month out, a little less from free agency. We'll see how that goes. Combine coming up soon. Sure, we'll see a lot of rumors. We'll be back at various points in the offseason, but not every week. So stay tuned.
I do want to show this. Our buddy sent me this today.
Okay.
So he had these made. He didn't offer us.
Oh, nice.
By the way.
But what the hell?
But
were you going to bring stats on and try to troll me after the Eagles lost?
No.
Yeah. Good. Because honestly, it was a relief when they lost. I was like, okay. I don't have to watch this team anymore. I did not enjoy watching this team this year. I'm quite okay with the season being over if they're just going to play like that every single week.
Look, the Super Bowl is a humbling thing, but like I had as bad of a time as you can have at a Super Bowl last year, right? Like it was horrible to like.
I think last year there's a case to be made. It was like the worst Cowboys season ever, just including what the Eagles did.
I've made that case many. What do you mean? Like I'm
not saying you didn't. I'm not saying
you're just ripping off my content now.
I'm saying, but even I think by point differential was like what, second worst or the worst. Like it was a really bad season.
It was a disaster, and so and then. But my point is like that day when the Eagles lost, it was so cathartic because I knew I was going to go. I was like, there's no bad way this can go. I was like, I like it's going to be an amazing experience, and it was.
Well, so there you go.
Yeah. All right. As we leave, Brandon, why don't you tell us a story about a girl who cried a river and drowned the whole world?
4th worst point differential of any Cowboys team in 2024. Do you know the 3 that were worse?
This one, 2020 and 1960.
60, 89, and 61. So there you go.
So 60 was their expansion year. 61 was their second year. Mm-hmm. And 89 was Jimmy Johnson's first year, Jerry Jones's first year.
Troy went 1-15.
Yeah. Good times. Oh, right. This is my actual last thing. I haven't finished it, but Bryce Harper is on the latest episode of Bustin' with the Boys. And so I
saw some clips from that.
He was talking about being a Cowboys fan growing up, and he talked about watching the Netflix documentary. So Bryce Harper has seen me on his TV screen. First thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, nice.
But second thing, he was asked what the best Philly cheesesteak spot is in Philly.
Probably said Angelo's, I'm guessing, right?
That's what he said. So I wanted to get like your thoughts on that. Like, is that
a lot of people would say that?
I'm sure it's very good, but is that like a cop-out answer?
I've seen him go there before, like on a video, so I'm not surprised. No, it's not a cop-out answer at all. It's like probably the correct answer objectively for a lot of people. I would not say that personally. It's up there. I'd had some inconsistent experiences there, Not because of quality, just because of quantity. Like I had a couple of sandwiches that I just thought that weren't filled entirely, and I usually don't complain about that kind of stuff. And I didn't like. I'm not gonna like, oh, give me my money back. Like it wasn't that egregious. It was just like I have a spot on South Street called Woodrose that I like
He
more.
brought that up. That was something else he touched on in terms of other options that he likes.
But I would never say anyone don't go to Woodrose or to Angelo's. I would like never recommend it. It's very good. And also I think the pizza's better. Some people think the cheesesteak's better. I would actually prefer the pizza from there over the cheesesteak personally. But yeah, I mean, there's always a line outside of there. Like it's always crowded. So, it doesn't need any pubbing. Like it is properly hyped. Like it and honestly, it can be hard to order from there sometimes because of how busy it is. So they actually opened a ghost kitchen where you can get delivery, and like every once or twice a year, basically, I'll get from there, and it's really good and it's awesome. So, yeah, it's a very fair take by Bryce Harper.
Shout out to A Night of the Seven Kingdoms
And Survivor 50.